I don't think AI will take over software development completely. It's not that easy. One of the hardest things AI doesn't do very well yet is like entire repo. You try to shove more than 1,000 lines of code in GPT, it just can't handle it. Transformers aren't really built for that. We need new architectures. Now, I do think things will change a little bit, but we're not looking at the end of software. But it is a fantastic tool. I mean, I think OpenAI will be worth $500 billion, to be honest. I use Cursor. I have Cursor open right now. I have to get out of here at 4 o'clock to go back to work on Cursor. Yeah, Devin, there's magic, there's all kinds of stuff. I think AGI is like a bit of a misnomer. It's just a different kind of intelligence. Human-like intelligence is, I guess, what a lot of people want to say AGI is kind of the definition of. And, we are unique creatures. The same way, I mean, it's a silly example, but looking at my cat, I brought back Trashy, by the way. So any of you old school people who've been watching for a decade, Trashy's here. She's hiding, but I've reunited with Trashy. But the cat is a unique animal too, and the cat is very optimized for certain things, hunting in particular. If you watch even a little house cat hunt, I mean, they're remarkable how they hide and stalk, and they have the perfect timing of surprise, even better than we do, because that's what evolution programmed them to do. They're these amazingly, strong, killers of sorts, right? Ace 27, that's a good idea. So, we are a different species, and we have strengths and weaknesses. AGI, or O3, or O2, or O1, or whatever OpenAI is built, those things are kind of their own species too. And, they're made less to feel and to use emotions. Like Minsky was the MIT professor who actually had Epstein ties. Minsky was very convinced that emotions played a huge role in our intelligence. Now, whether he was right or wrong, I'm not sure, but clearly when we make LLMs and stuff like that, we're not really prioritizing them to have emotions. So, this unique species will continue to have directed evolution by the programmers that say, for now, the architecture we've had isn't really perfect for software engineering, but it's very good. That architecture will change as we direct it to change. And we say, well, it's really bad at long-term memory and keeping huge amounts of context in place. Well, we're the engineers. We can fix it. Whether we fix it right away or not, it'll eventually have that really long context window where you could say, here is my entire enterprise repo and my entire enterprise topology. All the networks, all the servers, all the software. What do I do? And it looks at it and says, well, I see a bug here. I think you can make this routine 30% faster, and I recommend you moving from this service provider to another. That's the kind of thing we dream for. And you say something like, well, I want you to extend this bond software to stocks too. And it just sits there and works for a day or two and says it's done. Those days are not here yet, and they're probably not going to be here for a little bit longer. But I don't know that the software engineer will ever be replaced, because these are tools that you can use as a software engineer, and the opportunities to create software will go up. When Excel came out, bookkeepers went out of business, but financial analysts 10x'd. Corporate FP&A 10x'd. So, in general, I don't think you're going to have less people interested in using software. You're going to have more people interested in using software. for example, for me, I've been able to value certain options contracts, binary contracts, a lot more easily than I would if I didn't. So I don't want to give away my alpha, but there are certain options contracts that are esoteric, hard to trade, hard to value. And with GPT's help, I've been able to value them very easily. GPT writes the program for me. I know enough programming that I can put it in a for loop and put it on a website, and I can look at my front end. And now I have a real-time options evaluation system that's really sophisticated. I didn't have that before. It was too hard for me to build, too complicated. But AI helped me push and do something that 10 people might have taken 10 people to do, and I could do it myself. So, there's going to be an explosion in the need for software developers, because as much as AI will, tell you what to do, it can't really deploy and debug that well. It can assist somebody in deploying and debugging, but it can't really do it. It's not always up to date. For example, O1 is not up to date at all. So you have that really great reasoning ability, but it doesn't necessarily know what software was deployed yesterday or the day before. None of these systems know that, really. Will that change? Yes, probably, but those days aren't here yet. And every time a job gets terminated or a use gets terminated for a human software developer, I think 2 new uses open up. So you just have to, software developer, you have to stay malleable and flexible, which is something all software developers know how to do anyway, right? There's no person in software that says, I'm just going to learn React and I'm going to stick to React forever. They know that someday the React gravy train will be over and you're going to have to learn some other framework. And the same thing has applied since time immemorial. There's nothing that new under the sun. So being a good engineer is always going to be in demand, I think. But I've been wrong before. It could be wrong again. Maybe it's the end of software. Who knows? Some people think it's going to be the end of math. That's much harder as a human to be creative. These machines are horrible at being creative. They're very good at applying analogical reasoning. They can form analogies really well. But creativity is something that is an analogy to something surprising or difficult to see analogy, or something just out of the blue, a new idea that's just a try instinct, error, things like that. And machines are terrible at that. So I don't think some of those things are going to go away. So, and if you've ever used some of these machines, you know what their shortcomings are. They're good. They're not that good. All right, if you're just tuning in, I'm looking at GeneDx, which is an unprofitable diagnostics company, genomics